Okay, so now I'm going to show you how to start up the WAMP server after having it installed, or say after installation it starts up automatically. What happens after you restart your computer? So I'm going to be showing you how to start it up. In my earlier video, I mentioned having a small icon here, which is this icon here. If the icon is yellow, like I've said, or orange, then something is wrong. You can click on it to find out what is wrong. There are a few options right here. So I'm going to be touching some of these options and explain what they mean and what they can be used for. Some of them we will never have to touch them for now. So that's what you have. I've already started, so I'm going to stop it now. Well, I shouldn't stop it because then I have to restart it and my recording might be interrupted. So I'm going to leave it. Make sure you have a green icon. If you have a green icon, then you're fine. So on that green icon, I can decide to restart all my services, which are each of these items you see here. Apache is a service installed, PHP is a service, MySQL is a service, MariaDB is a service, PHP Admira, everything, they are all services. So if I click on restart all services, then everything is restarted. If I click on stop all services, then everything stops. If I click on start all, everything starts. So basically, each of these things work separately. The WAMP server is just a platform or a software that was made to accommodate each of these services or components. Each of them can still be made into softwares on their own and installed separately as different applications and started separately. But I mean, that makes no sense anyway. So this is a ready-made tool that comes with all these things that you need. Now, after going through these three items here, I will not be touching MariaDB. There are a few options under MySQL. This is MySQL 5.7.26. There is only one version in my installation. But if you had more than one version installed, you can see the options here. You can see one here. If I add another one, then I'll be able to select it here. Okay. There is also something called service administration, which is basically saying I want to stop this particular service. Remember, we said you can stop all service, you can start all. I can also come here to stop this particular one. This is MySQL. I can stop it. I can decide to install some things, components, missing components. I can restart it, and I can also remove it. So I can say in my WAMP server, I don't need MySQL. I just want MariaDB to be installed, and I need to free some space. I don't know how heavy it is, but I don't think anybody would need to free space and then remove WAMP server and remove MySQL. It's quite minute. So anyway, there is something called settings here, as you can see, comes with a bunch of options that you might not need to worry about right now. You can change a few of them here. You can set a few things here. I recommend you don't worry about this now. What you need to operate properly for a beginner is this default settings. However, you can also change settings in this file here. It is called my.ini. Let me open it up. So this is the configuration file for MySQL. Some of these options you see here are displayed. Where is it? Right, they are displayed here too. Let's see, where is it? As you can see, we have key buffer and we have log, blah, 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 all those kind of things are displayed there. So you can edit settings here, but don't do it yet. Don't do it only until you understand everything that each of them mean or whatever you want to edit. Right, so I'm going to close it now. I don't need to do anything there. Right now, the default settings is fine for you. So the next thing we have, well, it's not the next thing, I jumped it earlier, is MySQL Console. I mentioned in the earlier video, if you've not seen it, you might want to check it now, that normally you are supposed to write SQL statements to be able to interact with your database. And so even when you install WAMP server that comes with different options of interacting with your database, you can still decide to log into your terminal and use it. So let me just show you one or two things. The default username and password that comes with your MySQL and also works for your PHP admin is the username is root and then the password is empty. You can see it's asking me for password here. I'll just press enter on my keyboard and I'm here. So now that I'm here, you can see it's welcoming me, blah, blah, blah. You can read it if you care, I don't. So, well, we should care about this. MySQL was created, or SQL, MySQL is being, I don't know if I should call it created, but being operated or being managed by Oracle. Okay, you can see it's copyrighted to them, blah. I don't know if I should mention the history of how it came about, or you can always Google that. It also says something about them. It's being a trademark of Oracle there. So, right, you can write a few statements. Let me just write one or two things. I can say show databases. I mentioned earlier that my SQL can be quite easy. So right now, these are all the databases I have. This comes with MySQL. Whenever you install it, if you see information schema. If you don't have it, something is wrong. You also see performance schema, and then you also see MySQL. Those are default databases that come with the installation. I don't know if I can zoom this for you to see. No, I can't. So you have to just manage what I have. So I have 23 rows in this table. This is a table in MySQL. So the command I entered is show database. You can also see that I terminated the command with this semicolon. That works with MySQL. So I can also select any of these tables to work with. Let's see what am I allowed to open. I can open this. This is just a practice project. I can say use first, which is the name of the database. Now I've selected that particular database to work with. It said database change. So I moved out of this my default MySQL database and I moved into this one. So whatever operation I try to perform now will affect this one here. So what can I do? A database contains tables. So I can say show tables. There are no tables inside. That's a bad choice. So I'm going to use another database. Let's use one that has a table inside. I'm going to say ProBlogger. Use ProBlogger. Show tables. Right. These are tables in it. So these are the tables in that particular database. So I guess you can see the point now. So I can manage my database from here. I can say select all from users. So this is going to fetch every user I have in this particular table. These are the users I have. This is the password. These are my local host. The password is users. I was just testing out things. I can also run a command that arranges this properly. I can say select all from users and then give me the proper format. So this is a better format. I can see each of them in a row. So you can manage, the point is you can manage your database this way. You can also decide to use what came with WAMP server, which is called php-admin. So let's finish the options available here. There's a documentation here. You can open it up. It opens a documentation page, which you can still go through. I would not be going through that right now. You can go through it to understand a bit more about MySQL. And then there is a log file, which basically shows you log. When it comes to working as a developer, you must log issues. You must log errors. You must log a lot of things. So we rely so much on logs, so as to know what is happening, what went wrong, what needs to be fixed, and so on and so forth. So sometimes when you notice that your icon here is either yellow or orange or it is not green, anything outside of green, then you can come to your log file for one of your services and find out why it is green, then try to fix it from there. So the next thing we have here is PHP. But before we go to PHP, let me show you php-admin since it is a database thing. So I'm going to click on it now. Once you click on it, the address you get is localhost /php-admin, and then you get this page. Remember I told you the basic login is the default password is root, the default username is root, and the password is just an empty password. So I'm going to enter that and then click OK. So you can see this is the web interface. I told you earlier, I'm going to zoom it now so you see it clearly. These are the databases you saw when I typed the command. This is everything here. and I'm going to select that same database that I used earlier, which is ProBlogger. Now it has this feature of grouping similar names together. That's why you see test grouped here and this grouped here. So I'm going to select ProBlogger, and you can see these are the tables in it. I'm going to click on this. You can see these are the users. So equivalent of doing select all users like we did earlier using our MySQL terminal. So basically, the PHP allows you to do things quite easily. If I wanted to edit a record in this database, I would have to do something like update users, okay, users set. Let's see, what can I change? I can change first name to Mike, where I can type it, where ID is 7. So what I'm saying is update my user table. In my user table, set my first name to Mike, where the ID is 7, which is what I'm trying to do here. So I'm going to say enter. So I click enter now. Um, my enter is okay. It worked now. I don't know what happened. So it says the query was okay. One row was affected, which is this row, and then one record was changed. So let's check our record again. Select all from users and make it formatted. You can see my first name here, where the ID is 7. The first name is now Mike. So let's come back here and refresh, and you see that this is now Mike. I can also do that same thing here and change Mike to Mike edited and enter. Then when I come to my terminal and select, see it is now Mike edited. So it's the same database, just different manage the same database. So you can use PHP or you can use your terminal. A lot of people prefer using PHP when you're just starting out. So that's the intro to this. We are still going to be doing a lot of work with it. You can hardly avoid databases when it comes to PHP coding. So the next one we have on our list here is PHP. It comes with a lot of versions. I already mentioned I will be using the latest version, which is this here. My installation did not come with 7.4. I showed you because I installed this long ago. I installed this WAMP server when it was just at 7.05. But now the uh, PHP is now at 7.4 point something something. Let's see. PHP is now at, when the page loads, I'll show you. So it's now at 7.4. If I decide to update now, then I'll get a 7.4 version here. So yeah, the latest is 7. Well, the latest that is available on WAMP server is 7.4.0. So if I install this latest version now, I would get 7.4 here. So my PHP is right now, it is set at 7.2.18. And then I have PHP settings just like we have for MySQL. There are a few settings you can adjust here. For now, you can leave it as it is. It is fine. If display error is not checked, make sure you check it. When developing, you need to see the errors that are happening so you can know what to fix. Do not ignore any error, display everything. So that's all you need to check for now. Just leave the rest as it is. There is something called PHP Extension. Remember I told you you can decide to install PHP on your own without using WAMP server. If you decide to install PHP on your own, then you have to install these required components. I'll probably still show you how to install PHP without using WAMP server. But for now, we are just going to leave this as it is. I have had to activate some component that I needed as I was working. You might have to do that once in a while if it requires. But for now, the default setting is fine for you. You can leave it. Just like we have a configuration file for MySQL, we also have one for PHP. And here you can see it's php.ini and it contains all the settings. You do not need to change this for now. Just leave it as the default settings. Then we have a log, like I've already said, we have the documentation. So that's all we have under PHP. The next step is Apache, basically almost the same thing with the rest. You have your version. We only have one version. I only have one version installed for me, and I can decide to operate on this particular service. Remember, all of them are services installed in WAMP server. This also has modules just like PHP plugins or components. We have where is it? PHP extensions. Okay, that's what I was trying to remember. Extensions. We have it for Apache too. I'm not sure how if my pronunciation for Apache is correct, but I call it Apache. I've been calling it Apache for a long time. If you find there is a better way to say it, you can probably let me know. And then you can see how to get to some of these links. There is phpMyAdmin, there is uh, PHP system info. I'll probably be showing you that very soon. I've never had to, we will not need to use this, just forget about it. And then there is the configuration file for Apache. For PHP, it is php.ini. For MySQL, it is MySQL my.ini. But for Apache, it is this httpd.conf. And then there is this, which you shouldn't worry about right now. It's also another configuration file used for creating server blocks. Forget about it for now. Then we have error logs and access log. Others have a single type of log, but Apache has two types of log. There is the error log, which tells you what error happens when it happens. There is the access log, which tells you when a person accesses the platform. So this happens on almost all servers I like to work with. Everything is logged, which is why you would hear some server administrators tell you they can see what you are doing when you are doing it. This is how, because they have a log of every file, every page you access, and the method of access and the file extensions. They can see everything you do. Okay, so that's that about Apache, which is our what we will be calling our PHP compiler. Right, so that's all we'll be talking about. The last thing we'll be touching is the www directory. In the last video, I got several complaints about not understanding what I meant by root folder and so on and so forth. So I'm going to try to give a brief explanation. I think the video is already getting too long. So the root folder is that part of your server, or yes, that part of your server that is the first contact for any request. So if there's any request made to my WAMP server, especially web request, I don't know if that makes any sense. The WAMP server sends that request to this page by default. By default, every request comes through the root folder. So for my local host now, I don't need this page anymore. I'm going to close it. For my local host, I have this page because this is the page that is the default page in this folder. So this home page that you see when I go to localhost without a .com or .ng is this index page right here. I'm going to try to open it with a text editor as I was trying to do open folder. Let's come to then WAMP64 and www. That's the root folder. So these are all the projects in that root folder. This is for a tutorial that I worked on for this course. This is a project that I practiced with. These are all practice projects actually. My real projects are not on this system. Okay. So so this is the index page that we landed on, which does a lot of checking, a lot of retrieving of different data and checking and if this, if that, if this is, if that, and then finally displays the HTML. So let me show you that this page is what we see when we go to localhost. I'm going to edit the title just like I did before and say edit, well, whatever I type, you know I edited it. I'm going to refresh it and you can see the title now changes to whatever I typed here. So the first point of entry for any request to your server is the root folder. For WAMP server, your root folder is in this address. I'm going to show you one more time. You go to my computer or the computer, whatever it is called on your own OS, select your C drive, can see mine is almost full. And then look for WAMP 64, and then you see this folder here. So this is your root folder. Whatever project you want to work on should be in this folder. Whatever PHP project you want to work on should be in this folder. This is a PHP project, and it is a Cake PHP project. Yeah, Cake PHP is a framework. Is a PHP framework. We will not be talking about frameworks here, but we might make videos about them later. So the point is, the root folder is where your projects are supposed to be uploaded. So let's try to create a single project, a small project now. I'm going to create one and call it WAMP testing. That's a weird name, but I'm going to call it that. And I don't need all these things right here, so I'm going to open just that folder. I'll go to open folder and select my root folder and select that project, which is WAMP testing. And that project has opened up. This is my VS Code, and the project has no file inside. So let's create our first file, and I'm going to call it index.php. I suspect you can notice a pattern now. When you most servers, or I mean all the servers that I've had to work with, are configured to display the index as the first file. So when we go to this root folder too, the first file we were shown, this page, is the index file. So whenever you use index.php or .html, that's the first file that will be served out. And that's the only file you don't need to specify here. Every other file needs to be specified. Let me show you what I mean. So I'm going to try to access this page. Let's just write a basic HTML here, HTML5, and say this is my page, my PHP page, and change the title to PHP intro and save that. So I'll come to my project. To access this my project that I just created, I'll go to localhost / my folder name. So let me copy my folder name from here. I don't need to copy it, but I'm recording and I don't want to do Ctrl+C, Ctrl+V. I have to do a rename, right? I'll do a rename, then copy it, and then come here / and paste that, then enter. Now you can see it says this is my PHP page. Now if this folder was anywhere else other than this root folder, it would not work. It would throw out my entire page, because the extension is .php, and .php cannot be interpreted outside of the server, and the server will not properly throw it out if it is not in the root folder. So you need to place every project you work on in the root folder. So that's it. So let's do a PHP printout. What I've just done is a basic HTML. You can see that we will be able to write HTML even in a PHP file, but we'll talk about that later. Echo, this is a printed, I don't know what to write. I'll just printed text from PHP echo. Then you need to terminate. We'll talk about, so it changes that to what I have here. And outside of this tag, I can have more HTML content. However, outside of these two tags, which is the PHP tag, I cannot do a PHP command. Is outside PHP tag. It just prints it out like a normal text, echo blah 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 blah. I can also do what is called, I can enter a normal HTML command even in my PHP tag, and I expect that after this echo, every other thing gets printed on the next line because of this break tag. So when I refresh this comes to the next line. So probably in my next video, we'll do a bit more with this page. But basically, you understand where to place your folder, where to place your file, how to install WAMP server. You understand basics of all these components available, and then you can also do some manipulation when it comes to printing out PHP and HTML even on a page like this. So in my next video, we'll be able to do much more than